Well, oh well. Finally back live streaming. I suppose, well, let's do a proper introduction. Hey, what is going on, all my fellow godlies and Exidium enthusiasts around the world? This is Vance, and this is the first time I've streamed in 2 years. Yeah, that seems about right, because the last stream that we did was Resident Evil 7, and it was around Christmas time. And now we're in February of 2019. Quite the gap. Well, I think I owe you an explanation. I think what I can say, if I can provide any kind of defense for why I stopped streaming, my past two relationships, um, they had domestic violence in them. And so the most previous one more so than the one before that. But that was the last time that I streamed while you guys were viewing. And so there's been a lot that's happened since then. For anybody who's not been attentively paying close attention to my YouTube page, I moved away from that lady. I was in Jamaica, Queens, New York. I moved upstate to Syracuse, New York. Been here for since then. So early 2017 seems about right. Yeah. So I was here summer of 2017. That's where I met my baby's mother, who I'm now on the cusp end of going into a custody battle with. And yeah, it's been quite the interesting ride. So another reason why I stopped streaming was because as I'm getting older, I have less and less attention span, and I really wasn't enjoying video games. Like, I used to enjoy video games a lot when I was a teenager, and I would play all kinds of video games, racing, fighting, shooters, and then right around the time that I was playing and streaming at the same time, I really only liked shooters. And so a lot of the stuff that I was playing, I was like, God, I'm so bored of this. It feels like such a chore to stream. And I never want to do that. I never want to settle at a point in my life where I'm doing something just because it gets me popularity or money or things like that. I want everything to be fun. I want everything that I do to be fun and engaging and interesting. Part of the reason why I am an artist and why I pursue a career path in that line of work is to inspire the up-and-coming generation that's younger than I am. I want to inspire a new wave of writers, illustrators, animators, and editors like myself. So, that being said, if you checked out the title of my stream today, it says, gosh, I don't even remember what I named it, but it's basically going to be designing assets for animation. For an upcoming video that I'm doing, and I've been advertising that video for the past couple of videos that I put on my YouTube. So it's gonna be a pretty big special thing. I don't think my viewers know just how big and special it's gonna be, but cheers. Gonna drink up this water and we'll get started. That's another thing. I started hydrating well with water instead of soda so much. So it's got me feeling a little bit better. I'm also on medication for migraines and depression, anxiety, all that good stuff. So trying to put my life back together as much as possible. It's hard, especially when you're living alone like I am currently. So I got the drawing pad at the ready, and I think this is actually this will probably be the first time you guys have ever seen me draw live. So I'm not starting from scratch this time around, and for future videos that I do or future live streams that I do, I want to kind of like have a podcast type routine. So I may start doing special guests, and we may start talking about really controversial stuff. like getting a Shmushmortion at the Shmushmortion clinic and what your opinion is on it, and there being more than one genders. And our president, I'd like to talk about very controversial things and supply my opinion while also taking other people's opinions into consideration. So anyway, let's switch the screen up here. Yes, so if anybody is familiar with the videos that I've done before in the past, you will most likely recognize this character. Holy cow. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to use my pen this time around. Yeah, because the lag is... Wow, that's bad. That is really, really bad. So, can't use the pen this stream. I'll just have to use the mouse, which is cool, because, you know, I've done stuff like this before. So let me just break it down into layers and why I'm doing this. So now each piece of this character is, I should probably explain all the way at the beginning. Traditionally, with softwares like Macromedia Flash 8 Professional, which I have a decades of experience with, you would have to do a sprite sheet, and let me just go back to intermission, and then I will, let's see, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. So, sprite sheets. So, a sprite sheet would be, it functions similar to stop motion animation. Stop motion animation is where, like, if you go to throw a baseball and you have a toy or something that's made out of claymation, and you want to make it look like it's moving on its own, like the Nightmare Before Christmas, you would like move your figure and take a picture, move your figure, then take a picture, move it, take a picture, move it, take a picture, and keep on and so forth until you have all the pictures put on a timeline that put together a fluid motion in video format. Sprite sheet is essentially all the different perspectives and motions that you're ever going to use for that one character. And so old school programs would require you to put together very in-depth sprite sheets. I mean, one of the ones that I've done for a main character it was purposed for a video game. It had over 150 different, just what you're seeing here, had over 150 pieces to it. It was nuts. I don't remember the exact count, but it was ridiculous. So this one right here is not quite a sprite sheet. It's called a model sheet. So it's very, very different. So this is essentially your front, side, and back view. Now, of course, I'm going to at some point need like bottom, top view. That's why you see the bottom of this foot right here. You're seeing the bottom of his foot. Let's see, I don't have too many top views. No, I don't. I really do not. That's okay. I will make the assets for it later. What I'm trying to explain now is just basically all these pieces are going to be broken up into their own thing. So I want to go ahead and mask all of these layers so I can explain it just a little bit better. Now I will break it down even more later in this video because we're actually going to be making the assets for this. But right now this is just for explanation. So generally what I need to do in order to make assets is I need to break it up into individual pieces that will later be ran through my animation software for rigging. Now, rigging is providing a skeletal system for your model. So let's just get this box right here, and I will demonstrate what I'm talking about. So what I'll end up doing is I will kind of break these two pieces away from each other, because this piece will end up rotating and doing its own thing independent from this piece. Now, I don't know how familiar my audience is with the process of rigging, but basically what rigging is like I said, it's a skeletal system, and you'll have a what they call a mother point or a father point, something on that nature. And I'll just erase a point here to show you. And then that will represent what I just picked out of this. So that will represent, that mother point will represent this part of the body. Okay? And then as you're putting in more points, these become like sibling points, brother points, whatever the software decides to call it. And then you'll just put one there, and you'll put one there, and now you have a model that can, if you're watching the webcam, can essentially bend. It has what action figure specialists would call articulation. Understanding this core concept it seems complicated, but once you get it down, it's pretty simplistic. It's not something that I've worked with too much. If you recall, if any of you have checked out the Warframe trailer that I did for Korra, where it basically had Korra portrayed as Thrud, and the Rhino portrayed as Mogni, and then Atlas portrayed as Thor. I did use a skeletal rigging system with the demon god Surtur, and so that was really interesting because I also implemented an illusionary technique in which I took 2D aspects, and as they were turning and becoming flat, more 2D flat surface aspects were going from a flat state to revealing. So it appeared as though the object was 3D when really all of it was 2D. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go ahead and start building the assets kits, because I can't really draw today without my pen. Okay, so all we got is the tonsils. Alright. Generally what I do is I work with the pieces on a duplicate layer. That way I don't mess up anything here. You see how, I don't know if you can see this area of my screen, but I've got all these windows here. And so if I hide that layer, then the one beneath it is the exact same thing. So anything I need to remove, I can do on this layer and not have to worry about losing things. So I'm also going to clip out the color background. The color background helps me to see things more clearly. And where should we start today? Probably get rid of the inside of the mouth and the jaw. And I think probably the chest. Yeah, probably the chest is probably going to be the best place to start. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to take away everything that we don't need. Really simple. Actually, what I want to do is I'm going to just try and get rid of everything here, because I do want to keep the neck. Okay, that's too much. Okay, so we're gonna leave these lines right here, but we're going to color in everything else. Now, if you guys start to get a little bit bored or whatever, you can let me know in chat and I'll play some music. I'm trying to avoid playing music because if this goes on YouTube, it can be monetized, and I I'd rather not be demonetized, but I mean, if it really comes down to it and you guys are bored, I'll do it for you. Show you how much I care. So, why I'm doing this, why I'm overlapping the neck and getting rid of some of the detail, is because the neck is going to be its own separate thing, and I'm going to end up animating that separately. So, oh, too far. Okay. So we also need to get rid of the the crevices meeting up to the crotch. So let's just do no, I think what we need to do is actually get rid of the neck, at least to that point. Let's go ahead and mirror everything that we're doing. Bring the mirror point over here. Kind of hard to see without my background color. There we go. Again, just so everyone knows what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, the neck is going to be a piece that's animated by itself. So what I'm trying to do is just leave pieces that are static, and therefore they won't be animated. They will well, everything in this, everything you see here is going to be animated. That's not very helpful information, but they will be independently animated, not with the use of so like the neck itself will be independently animated from the torso, and so I don't really need the neck if the torso is going to be one of the things that moves on its own. Same thing goes for the chest, apart from the abdomen. So I want the abdomen to do I want it to be slightly animated. So I'll actually get rid of this piece. Alright. Okay, so that piece right there is completely ready to be exported. Now, I have to, for the specific software that I'm using, I have to export this as a PNG file and name it. So we're gonna expand it a little bit here. File, save as. I'm gonna strictly focus on just making assets for animation today. It'll just, because I would have to restart my computer in order to get the mouse to, or I mean not the mouse, the pen to work properly, and I'm not gonna mess around with it. So we're gonna name this front chest. It's gonna be a PNG file. It's gonna go in his own folder, and that we're just done with that. We're just done with that layer completely. And this is why I duplicated the layer, is so that essentially anything I do in order to make an asset, it won't screw up what I've already done. And I've already done two model character sheets, or two 2 model sheets for a character. I've already done 2 of them, and so now we got to do side view chest. So again, duplicate the layer, that way we don't mess up anything. Let's get rid of these 2. Just get rid of them. Don't need them. Same thing goes for the neck. Not going to be needing that. We will get that when we need it. So getting rid of all the pieces that won't be connected to the chest when I import it for animation. Again, doing the same thing that we just did with the front view, only we're doing it with the side view now. Things that are going to be independently animated from the rest of the piece just need to be kept separate from those pieces, and then I save each piece individually, and then whenever you import the folder, you have essentially operates like a puzzle, just putting together a puzzle. You put together the elements of the skeleton and the model that you need. And I'm going to go ahead and save this now. This is going to be named side chest. Alright, so we can get rid of that. Done with that. And you see now it's just a matter of rinse and repeat, really. Duplicate the layer once again. Hide that. Get rid of that. And I break down each piece of the body this same individual way, which gets pretty boring. But we're going to use our mirror piece again. Gosh, it's really kind of messy. I'm going to turn this on the background color just so it doesn't hurt my eyes so much trying to stress to see where the middle point is. Okay. Again, we don't need the neck, so we're going to just take that away. Try to keep it as evenly as possible. Now, my advice to any artists that are attempting to do this, unless you're an animator, it's not really necessary. I feel the need to remind my audience, whether you're watching live on Twitch or YouTube, that I am 4 different things. I am a writer, an illustrator, an animator, and an editor. So essentially I do all of my own cartooning 100% on my own. And that's why I'm building these assets and getting them ready for animation. Now, you can do this entire process and not be an animator. For instance, this is actually a good way to make money. If you were employed by a company, let's say a mobile game company that wanted you to make assets for a cell phone game or an app game, something like that, you could very well do this, replicate this process that I'm showing you here, and get money for that. In fact, I've actually considered that. Now that I'm talking about it, it seems like something that I should do, because it's, I don't know, it's kind of a pain in the ass though. Like I've been procrastinating doing this. I've had I'd say probably 2 weeks to do this, and I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. I just told myself, oh, I'll just save it for the live stream. People might be interested in it, and you know, it could serve as like behind the scenes type stuff. So whenever I do release that magical video that I've been hyping up for so long, people think, oh, okay, that's how that's done. Because people do not realize how much work goes into making short cartoons. It just you know, 15 seconds worth of animation could translate into 14 hours worth of work. And we're very, very fortunate as animators and artists alike to have some of the more intricate software available at our disposal. Otherwise, we would have to be doing things traditionally, which takes a lot longer. Making sprite sheets and then doing all of this. Oh, I had to do that once. I may post a video about that. That might be a good idea for a video to kind of inspire another wave of up-and-coming artists and animators to try and, you know, just, you know, even though it seems like a long, tedious process, the payoff is seeing the expression on people's faces when things like this come together. So, what should we do next? We did the chest. Let's go ahead and do the abdomen. Again, getting rid of the pieces that I don't need. Should grab my mirror tool again. Yeah. This whole process gives me a headache, trust me. And I'm not even, the funny thing is I'm not even done making assets for this guy yet. I still got things to do for him. So let's erase the ears. This time we don't need the chest because we created an asset for the chest already. So we're just gonna do the opposite and erase the chest this time around. I do kind of want to get rid of that line because I'm relatively certain that the chest featured that line. So if there is going to be a line that's left there, I want it to strictly be as like a groove for that muscle. Maybe put some gray behind it. Yeah, let's do that. Let's put some gray behind it. Now, some of the drawing that you'll see me do is just so that the end product, when I put this model together, doesn't come out sloppy or looking weird. And this is one of the things that I will sometimes do, is I'll just put in skin tones that accurately represent the model behind it. Okay, go back to erasing. Yeah, so now, you know, it kind of looks 3D. That was totally unintentional, by the way. I didn't mean for it to appear 3D. I just, like I said, I strictly put objects and stuff behind it, so when I do finally put the character together and get it ready for animation, when I do the rigging process, the way when it bends and, you know, rotates and twists, it won't look weird. Which I'm sure I'm gonna run into issues like that anyway, but that's okay. I'll deal with it then. So because this is a duplicate layer and, you know, everything I drew behind it, we're just going to combine the layers so it's the same thing. get rid of our background, get rid of the mirror tool, select this baby, blow it up, and then save it as front abdomen. Oops. Okay, make sure it's a PNG file. It's very, very important that these files get extracted as PNG files, because what a PNG file basically is if you see all this checkerboard in the background, that represents transparency. And transparency is essentially nothing. So when you import it into programs like Adobe Animate, Flash, Sprite, Spine, even Photoshop, it will recognize nothing else behind your object. So the graphic that you'll be working with is going to be just that space and not a square, because otherwise if you export it as a JPEG, it will register this whole thing, this whole square, as an object. And then when you go to work with it and rig it and provide bones for it to bend and rotate with, you're gonna have a square. It'll literally be like a piece of paper, and you don't want that. It's very I mean, you could do that, but it's very, very unprofessional, and all your models are gonna have like white boxes or whatever the color is behind it. So don't need that layer anymore. Delete it. What I should have done is I should have, we're just gonna go ahead and do that, because better safe than sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and well, I just noticed that there's some transparency spots here that I don't want to be there. Let's just make another layer beneath it. Screw it. I'm also going to do the same thing that to the top that I did to the bottom. That way when he's rotating or pivoting at the hip, it doesn't look strange there either. Two viewers in chat. Don't be afraid to say hello. I'm monitoring chat on my second monitor. If you have anything to say, any questions, feel free to ask. Just taking care of the transparency issue here. I don't want his torso to be see-through. Combine that layer, and then I'm actually going to save over, front abdomen. Overwrite that. Okay, now we don't need that anymore. Boom, gone. Alright, and we just repeat the process over and over. It's tedious. It's tedious, folks. This is what you got to do in order to be a good illustrator for people who need assets, or be a good animator providing yourself assets. So we just did the front, so we no longer need the front. Actually, let's get rid of the back and the front at the same time. Save some time. Get rid of that. And so now we're going to edit this guy. For anybody just tuning into the stream, I'm creating assets for animation after a 2-year hiatus from Twitch, and it kind of feels good to be back. I'm expecting some of my friends to come in at a later point in the stream and tell me welcome back. But if nobody shows up, that's fine. It's my first time streaming in 2 years. I'll understand. No hard feelings. And I mean, I kind of caught everybody off guard today. I just randomly said, hey, I'm going to stream today. So you only had like a 2-hour notice. So, but later on in the week, I will definitely advertise doing this. Probably, maybe every Saturday, maybe every Sunday. I'll get some feedback from my audience and see where it goes. Again, I need my background because, holy God, his skin is white and so is the background. It's messing with my eyes pretty hard. Oh no. Erased more than what we wanted to. God, it sucks not being able to do this with my pen. I'm so used to doing this whole process with my pen, but for some reason, it was lagging really bad. So, again, repeating the same process that we did last time, just putting in something behind it. That way, whenever I go to animate it, it does not look weird. Because otherwise, I may do an animation live stream, but today we're just focusing on the illustrations that I've already done and preparing them as assets for animation. So, what are my neighbors doing? Holy, making a lot of ruckus downstairs. It's almost like they're putting on a WWE show in their living room. Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly what we need. I'm going to combine that layer now, turn off my background color, grab this object, make it bigger. Now we're going to save that as, wow, that's interesting. I didn't realize that my live stream is not showing whenever I hit File and Save As. It does not show that. That's really interesting. It's not like you guys need to see this process anyways. It's just me saving it as, you know, I name it side abdomen. And I'm very, very anal about naming these assets their proper name, because otherwise I will have a really tough time trying to figure this shit out when I go to actually animate it. Okay, no longer need that. Same thing, duplicate the layer, hide it, get rid of the access that we do not need, bring back my mirror tool, turn my background color on, if it'll let me do that, thank you, about time. Okay, so we did the back last time. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna make it straight. I'm just gonna grab the pieces that I don't want here. Yeah, that'll work. Now just to make sure everything looks good in the end, I'm going to put some more background stuff in here. It gives it a little bit of a 3D look as well, which is kind of cool. Combine these layers. Ooh, kind of not liking that. Hang on 1 second, I can fix this. Grab right here and just pull up gently. Make it look flow and look a little bit more natural. Yeah. The mirror tool is acting very weird today as well. It's not something that usually happens, but Now the reason why that looks so weird right now is because obviously you know, it's missing the back, which, you know, I'll actually put the back in there whenever I go to animate it and or rig it for animation. So no worries, something I'll address later. And we're just gonna grab it like so, zoom out, expand it, file, save as, and then we're gonna name it, make sure it's a PNG file, and then name it back abdomen. It's very, very important that the color layer gets turned off, because if the color layer is not turned off, there's no point in it being saved as a PNG at all, because it's going to show the color when you know, try to turn these assets into an actual humanoid structure. So there you have it. We've completely done the front, side, and back of the chest, the back, and the abdomen. So now we'll probably move on to neck before I take a brief break and make myself some coffee, because this really is a painstaking process. I mean, just look at all these layers that I still got to do, and I have to do this whole process. This is why it takes so long, is because honestly, folks, I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. But on the plus side, once I finish this character right here, I'll be done. I just have to create an alternate costume for one of the previous characters that I made, which shouldn't be that tough. Create assets for that, and probably work on some more individual mouths and hands. So like fists, bird's eye view. I have to do bird's eye view stuff as well, which again, it shouldn't be very, very difficult things. Shouldn't be nearly as tedious as this process is. So we're gonna get rid of all the layers that we don't need again. Aren't we having so much fun? Back down to one viewer. That's exactly why we're back down to one viewer, is because this process is not very fun. Let me be the first to admit that. This process is not very fun at all. Okay, so neck is our next target. Duplicate layer. And we're just gonna get rid of words today. Come on, Vance. We're going to get rid of everything that we don't need. Probably going to start over here this time just to break up the monotony. Yeah, let's do that. Get rid of the ears. I consider the a little bit of the hair to be a part of the neck, because it's on it's a hairline, and he's got short hair there anyway, so you know, it's going to be static, meaning that it won't move, it won't be animated. When there's hair that's loose, for instance, like my bang here, I will animate it independently. But I gotta kind of focus here because I'm losing my train of thought. But for hair that's not going to be moving at all, I don't worry too much about it. I just leave it as a part of the body, like so. See how the back of the neck definitely features some hair. That's perfectly alright. I keep forgetting to put my color back on so that I'm not killing my eyes. And that's partially the reason why I need the coffee, is not only the energy, but also because of the massive headache that I get trying to... And it's specifically just this character too, because no other character is this pale. And so my eyes struggle to see, you know, his skin versus the background. So I just gotta keep remembering to do that. Again, we're gonna get rid of everything that we don't need. Grab the one thing that we isolated. Okay, turn off the background layer, and then I said turn off the background layer. What's going on? Wow. That's so strange. You just seen that glitch, right? I was clearly turning off the background layer. It had the line through it indicating that it was gone, but it was wow. That's different. I don't think I've been working with this program since 2016, at the beginning of 2016, so a little bit before I started live streaming, and I've honestly never seen something like that happen. Back neck. You can't see what I'm looking at here, but if you could imagine, you know, when you go to Microsoft Paint and you click File, Save As, it pulls up like an operating, like a smaller window, like an operating system window, and then it shows your file pathways. I have a pathway that says this PC, desktop, and then the name of this character, which is Vashed, and all of the pieces. You can literally see all the pieces, but it's not showing that, which I don't know why. I have no idea why, but it's okay. Worry about it later. Okay, no longer need that layer, so I'm gonna copy it once more and delete everything that I don't need. We're gonna grab the neck on this one this time. Getting rid of the ears. Let's see. There we go. Much better. Now my eyes are not struggling so much. I'll probably grab my mirror tool as well. I keep going back and forth with this. I wish I had like templates for the mirror tool to where I could just like set it in 2 different locations by default and I can snap them to and from. Ease of access type thing. So again, all we need is the neck. We strictly do not need anything else. So each time, with model sheets, they're very different from sprite sheets. Model sheets don't show as much as sprite sheets because you don't need as much as what you need from sprite sheets. With sprite sheets, you need all the animations you're ever going to need. So if you're an illustrator, you're essentially doing a lot more work for the animator, but with the program that I'm going to be running it through for animation, the animator himself does not need to do a lot of work at all. He really just needs to rig the assets that was provided to him. And I'm both the animator and the illustrator in this scenario, so I'm basically providing for myself, and the end result is going to see to it that I don't need to do nearly as much work when I animate. And that's what I like about this program that I'm working with for animation, is that it just doesn't make me work as hard, you know? And I kind of got rid of my hard black outlines, and I still kind of want them to be there. So I'm just kind of Well, it would probably help if I had the right color. And it would also probably help if I wasn't so close to the object that it didn't matter at all. I'm just going to copy that because I'm lazy. And then I'm also going to mirror the layer and then grab that. Again, if you're a frequenter of my YouTube page, you're already kind of familiar with this whole process that I'm doing right here via my speed paint, or my speed paint videos, because that's essentially what I do for speed painting. Is I just kind of like add more and more detail. I have like a static object that's like gray or white, green, whatever color, and then I'll come in with darker tones, lighter tones, do gradients, I apply everything that I know from art into my speed paints. And with model sheets and asset creation, it's a lot more challenging, which is something that I like. I love to challenge myself artistically, and I love to be logically sound in my means of doing it. So a lot of the times when I talk technically about the things that I know, people are surprised because they just didn't figure that I would be the type of person to be interested in this field or know as much as what I do. Another subject of debate. Now I want to take this brief amount of time to show this off. I'm considering going back to school for this, actually, because you can never know enough. This is the Syracuse University bag. I just toured the college this past Friday, and I was blown away by the opportunities that they give you. Unlike normal universities, this operates kind of like a trade school, meaning that if you want to go back to school for art, that's all you have to go to school for. You don't have to take math, science, any of that. And so that's something that I'm highly considering, even though I'm very well versed in this field already. I know a good 70% of what they're going to end up teaching me, so I'm ahead of the curve. And I mean, I don't know if I could graduate early, but I've been to 2 different art colleges when I was younger. One was that 1-800 number where they send you like this pamphlet, and then like some of you might know what I'm talking about. It was like the 1-800 number that had the pamphlet with the parrot on one side and the pirate on the other, and you kind of just had to like copy from one side to the next. It was garbage is what it was. It was really, really boring. And so, I mean, I think I was like 8 years old when I did that, but it was technically an art college. Like, it said Art Institute of Missouri, I believe. I think it is where it was located. But I ended up just not participating in it anymore. It was just very boring. It was underutilizing my talent at the time. And so the next college that I attended, I attended it while I was still in middle school, and it was an art college that was online. Everything was online, so all my classes were online, and this was right around the same time that I wrote the trilogy for the character that you're seeing here. Like, this character doesn't show up until the 3rd book, the character that I'm working on here. But I went ahead and wrote 3 books, like, I wouldn't say in one sitting, but for a solid, like, month at a time, I'm sitting there and I'm writing stories. And I was also in college doing art. My computer crashed, and not only did I lose all of the writing that I had done for this universe, but I also fell way, way behind in my classes and needed to make up all this homework. And so I'm the type of person that when I get overwhelmed and depressed, I just quit. So I never got back into it. And after I graduated, well, I didn't really graduate high school. I dropped out and got my GED because I just wanted to be done with it. Like, I hated school. I still, the thought of school, I sometimes have nightmares that I'm back in school. That's how much I hate it, if that gives you any idea. So I've actively avoided college up until this point, but now that I'm 30 years old, it's like I already know I already know so much of what they're going to teach me that I figure, why the hell not go back? I mean, why not? Go back, you know, have the stuff that's fresh on my mind be taught to me, and show my portfolio off, prove that I'm fully capable in this industry, and you know, get started in a career. More importantly, get hired and start making some money instead of depending upon YouTube and Twitch, which, like I said at the beginning of the stream, I'd rather not be doing it for the money at all. I'd rather be just doing it for the sake of entertainment purposes, you know? I want to inspire a generation of writers, illustrators, animators, and editors. I want to encourage all the youth to be putting their talents to good use and be doing it at an early point in their life too, because God, do I wish that I was doing then what I'm doing now. Because if I were, I would probably be as big as PewDiePie. But I didn't, and so I'm here. Living a life of poverty. Nah, I'm pretty blessed. I am definitely blessed to have made it this far, especially given the circumstances that I've had to deal with for the past couple of months. For anybody wondering how that's going, the situation that I've been dealing with for the past couple of months, I have visitation with my daughter at the mall at Destiny USA, Syracuse, New York, from 12 to 2. And I get to see her for 2 hours, which isn't nearly enough. And I hate that it has to be confined to the public eye as well, because, I mean, I wasn't the abusive parent. I never put a harmful hand on my child, nor did I ever even talk about it, yet can't say the same thing about her mother. Yet she was able to take off with her and get away with it, and the state doesn't want to do anything about it because they're a very pro-mom state, which is just a nice way of saying that the state is sexist. But they totally are. And if it sounds like I'm bitter because of that, I am. I hate her mother to no other end. I regret ever getting with my daughter's mother. And if I had it all to do over again, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I don't regret having my daughter. I love my daughter. She's my sunshine. But it is what it is. So now that I've completed the entirety of the torso, I will need to move on to maybe the arms next. Yeah. But before I do that, I've got to get some coffee because I am starting to get tired. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm on new medication, so kind of having to roll with the punches here. Anytime you're on new meds, you kind of have to give it a couple of weeks to see how it's going to affect you fully. And this medication kind of has me feeling strung out. Not strung out like typical drug addicts strung out more along the lines of like, it's like the reverse of anxious. It's like when you're like, jittery and you feel like you got to do something, but it's the opposite of that. It's like, I don't want to do anything. That's how I felt pretty much all day yesterday. It was so bad. I was zombified. And today, the reason why I'm a little bit more live is because, well, A, I'm excited to be back on live for the first time in 2 years, and B, I'm running off coffee. So, um, I will go make myself some coffee, and for the next half of this video, I'm going to be doing more asset creation, and I'll kind of like look into this problem of why I can't use my pen and try to figure it out. That way I can actually draw and maybe speed paint for you guys in future videos. But for right now, I'm going to switch to the be right back, and I will talk to you guys when I get back. Alright guys, I swear if it wasn't for coffee at this stage of my life, I wouldn't get anything done. Coffee is like my creativity fuel. And I'm sure this mug will become a famous mug for me because it's like it's the only cup I'll ever drink coffee out of. It's not like I'm paying homage to my daughter or anything. I just it's just the perfect size coffee mug for the amount of coffee that I like to have. I tell you an interesting story about me making coffee. It should be considered an e-sport because it's really dangerous. Though I wouldn't say that I just moved into this apartment, but because I'm on new meds and I've been to appointments and court dates and this and that, I'm rarely here, and when I am here, I try to work on what I'm doing right now. And so the story behind it goes is that when I moved in here, I never fully moved in because I still have stuff in boxes. Just to give you a perspective here, I still have, the drawers are not put together, and my other part of the computer desk is a mess. I'm not a messy person. I really am not a messy person. I'm actually quite the opposite. So, the kitchen is the same type of situation. When I moved in here, I just kind of temporarily put the microwave right next to the sink. I mean, right, basically on top of it. It's bad because the only outlet that's available is behind the sink. So, trying to think of a way to explain this so you would understand. The sink is like right here, and the only outlet is like right here. So I can't put the microwave over in this region because there's a large like cabinet thing for dishes and stuff, and there's just nowhere to set the microwave at all. So it has to be over here. So the cord has to stretch over the sink, which that in of itself is really dangerous. But then you have the coffee pot, which is the same type of circumstance. The cord is really small or really short length, so I ended up having to stack the coffee maker on top of the microwave across the sink. And so when I go to make coffee, I have to pour the actual pot. I have to pour it over cords. And so while I was microwaving this cup, I was also pouring a new batch to be made in the morning, and I could only imagine how ugly that would have been if I had spilled some on the cord while the microwave was going. I likely wouldn't be talking to you right now, and you'd still be left on a Be Right Back screen. So yeah, making coffee, totally an e-sport. I really need to figure out this new. So I'm not streaming off of OBS anymore. It's kind of like actually it says Streamlabs OBS version 0.11.15. So I have not gotten the hang of it, to say the least. Yeah. I'm on the intermission screen right now, which I set up a little bit before the screen. Hi! Goron. I also need to make that text a lot bigger, because I have really bad eyes. What's going on? So, we're in the intermission phase, which we're kind of like halfway through. Generally, my live streams run around for like 2 hours. And I just want to take it slow because first time streaming for since 2 years ago, and having myself a bit of coffee to get that creativity flowing. Definitely do not want to drink my coffee cold. Alright, so let's go back to what we were doing. Well, my daughter couldn't be any cuter. She's getting more and more. Matter of fact, since you asked, I will pull you up a picture. I'm getting visitation of her every Saturday at the mall from 2 to 12, and it's a process that I both love and hate. I love seeing her, of course, but I hate the fact that I only get 2 hours and it has to be within public eye. But here you go. Here, let me go back to intermission. That way I can. This is a picture I took of her at the mall. Not this past weekend, but the week before that. Yep, and she's. I don't know, man. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to get all emotional about it. But she's the light of my life, man. Life is okay. I'm running really low on money. Like all the GoFundMe money that I got. What was it in December, November? It's pretty much gone. So. Thank you so much. So what I'm doing here is I'm working on. I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory here. Let me get another drink of coffee. So YouTube, since it changed its algorithms back in summer of 2018. It went from, well, originally it was all about subscribers to views to view time. And with that view time came an era called the ad apocalypse, which served to demonetize a lot of people. And when it did that, it pretty much flatlined my account. I mean, I was already being really inactive because of the personal stuff I was dealing with my baby's mother. But on top of that, I was demonetized, so it was really ugly. And therefore, I haven't made money from YouTube in the past year, I would say. Yeah. Because now they have this completely garbage, which makes no sense, $100 threshold. And so if you don't reach that quota per month, they literally hang on to your money. Which makes no sense because you would think that if you're an employer of people, of workers, that you wouldn't want to pay them in bulk, which is exactly what they're going to have to do once I reach that $100 threshold. Like, they're going to have to pay me, like, over 5 months worth of back pay. So I'm, like, literally, if I can pump out a video that goes viral and I reach my $100 threshold for that month, they will be forced to pay me all of that back pay plus whatever I make for that month. So I'm hoping that this animation video that I'm working on can be my saving grace, and it can help me out because I only have like $93 in the PayPal account, and I have to pay for utilities here until I get tested for autism and find out whether or not I'm on the spectrum and therefore receive SSI. So adulting is really hard right now. It's really stressing me out. And I'm on new medication because of it. But other than that, I'm doing alright. So, let's get back into it. We already did the torso. So, what we probably... Let's start small. Let's just go all upper body for the rest of this stream. So... I have the inside of the mouth already done in the folder. Let's get rid of the hair. I'm not even done with the hair. I actually still need to add another tone of color in the hair. So now let's just do the jaw. Well, this should be really easy. Actually, this should be really fast. So we're going to duplicate this layer. That way anything that we do to the top doesn't end up being a permanent change. I'm kind of actually glad that I did this, because that means that it'll make doing this whole process really, really quick. Let's get rid of the background color, and then let's save this as front jaw. Now again, for those of you just tuning in, what I'm essentially doing is I'm taking a model sheet that I've made, and I am breaking it down into specific like body parts, aka assets, which I can then rig in my animation software and then make an animated video. I've got a fly in here, and he's really pissing me off. You're about to see me start waving my hat at this fucker. Alright. So we just did the front jaw, and we need to copy this layer, make that one transparent, and then get rid of the one that we... Ooh, too much. Too soon. Get rid of that one and make this one bigger. Okay, file, save as, and then we're going to name this one side jaw. I did mention earlier in the video that I may, in future streams, I may actually open up my animation software and show you guys. Oh yeah, file's the #1 enemy. Well, there's a specific reason for why you have to create it like this, and so, for instance, you have this face here, which he looks like an old man here with dentures, but there's a specific reason why it has to be a PNG. So if it's a JPEG, rather or not this background is here or not, like regardless of whether the color is there or gone, it will still register it as the full picture. And so when you are purposely trying to incorporate just this portion of the head, you'll still pick up everything that's behind it. Like I said, regardless of whether or not the background is there. So what you want to do is save it as a PNG. That way all this checkerboard stuff that you're seeing here in the background registers as nothing. Like it doesn't, you can import it into Photoshop, Sprite, Spine, Flash, Adobe Animate. You can import it, you can even import it into some 3D software, and it will only register these areas, only areas that you've drawn pixels upon. So that's the critical difference between a JPEG and a PNG, and it's super important that people know that if they're considering a career in this field. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my face layer, get rid of the side view, enlarge the portion that we're going to be saving. I can't get over that. He just looks like an old man without the hair. So we're going to name this asset front face. Alright, we're done with that. Now we can delete that layer that we've made and then duplicate it one more time to a separate layer, and then do it with the opposite face. Get rid of the one that we just saved, grab the one that we got rid of the last time, and then save that file PNG and name it side face. Again, you guys can't see what I'm seeing, but when I do file save as, it brings up like a little folder with a pathway that shows you where it's going in the folder and all the assets that I've got so far. So now we have all of what I'm showing right now is already done. That's literally, I have all of the assets to each one of these individual pieces. So now I'm going to need to move on to something else, like, for instance, the hair. I would love to do the hair at this stage, but Problem is I didn't add 2 different tones to the hair. So, and given the fact that I can't use my pen okay, so here's my mouse. I don't know if you can see my mouse, my cursor. It might be a little bit too small for you, but when I use my pen, it's actually lagging so bad, really, really bad. Like it's going like so it's just not even. I don't know why this happens. I've contemplated like reinstalling Sketchbook because it crashes all the damn time and it never used to. So I'm gonna have to research that problem later and figure out why it's doing it and why I can't draw on stream, because I was totally going to perform asset creation and draw on stream because I thought that would be a really, really cool thing to share with you guys. And I was also going to play music, but if I intend to share this video to YouTube at a later date, I might get demonetized, so kind of want to avoid playing music too. I just got this new coffee. That's French vanilla. And I have a coffee mate with it, creamer. It's like a powder. And I'm still kind of experimenting with all the different flavors of coffee that I like. So far, I know for a fact that I like French vanilla with a caramel swirl from Dunkin' Donuts. But still yet experimenting with the stuff that I get at home. Okay, so this is relatively straightforward. Each piece here, okay, so why I've only made like one of these pieces is because it's basically going to account for each and every single finger. And I don't think it's going to matter whether it's side, front, or back, to be honest. Yeah, well, let's just go ahead and do this. Let's copy it and then paste it in place. Now what I want to do is probably break it into 2 halves and then merge those 2 halves together. Oh. Okay, awesome. Glad to have you. I want to be doing this more often, actually. Thank you for the follow. You got our seal of approval. You've become a godly on Twitch. I do want to be doing this more often just because it's kind of like extra stuff for fans who follow me on YouTube. They're like, cause I'm working on a really big video that I think is gonna blow people out of the water. So, and like I said, I'm not really trying to do this stuff for money. I really want to just do it to, you know, educate people and B, inspire them. You know, they don't call it a starving artist for no reason. So this is kind of sloppy, but it's a finger, so I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, that looks to be alright. And then we're just going to dilute, like erase around it a little bit. Again, I just hate having to do this with my mouse instead of my pen. I don't know why my pen's not working. And now what we want to do is well, hang on, let me just copy the shape of this and then paste it in place, and then so I can use a cheat here. Ah! There we go. See, now my cheat has totally made it look like it's a new perspective, even though it's not. It's still just the same piece. Blend that in a little bit more. There you have it. Well, I don't actually see the side of a finger shouldn't look like that. Huh. Let's maybe take away a little bit more. No, not feeling it. Uno momento. Too much. It's got to be subtle. Yeah, well, you think that looks like a decent side of a finger? I think so. Yeah, I think that could work. Yeah, let's do that. So we're gonna mask everything else as usual. Grab this piece right here, blow it up, and then save it. File, save as, and we're gonna name it side finger PNG, of course, so none of the background registers. We get the ding to confirm that we're done. So side finger's done. Now we just need to duplicate this layer and get rid of all the pieces that we don't need. Actually, let's get rid of all of it with one fell swoop. So use the lasso tool and bam. Whoa, I totally did something I didn't want to do. Don't worry guys, I'm a trained professional. Not really. Probably am considered to be professional level at this point. I don't know. If there's any potential employers out there that are ready to hire someone who can make graphics for a mobile game, I can do that. I'm just going to name that front finger, and I'll likely use that for the back side of the finger as well. Just because I'm kind of feeling lazy. I could do it the right way, I just don't want to. Now we're going to work on finger points. Let's go ahead and again get rid of everything that we don't need. And then actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually save myself some problems and then cut this and then paste it where it is. That way it puts it on a separate layer. That way I can just come back to it whenever I want to make that asset. Expand it, and like all things that we save, we're going to name it front fingertip. Fucking fly. Nope, not GIF. PNG. Front fingertip. Yep. Get rid of that. Come over here. And then we're going to name this side fingertip. Stupid fly. Keeps buzzing around my face. I don't like it. Alright. Done with the fingers. I know I'm late on the joke, but I have fun saying uno momento. Okay. Okay. So you do French and Spanish? Yeah, you're late to the stream. I'll show it again. This is a bag I got from my local city. Syracuse University, and I toured the college this past Friday, and they, unlike most universities that make you, have to see math and science again, they basically told me that I could come back and do art and strictly just art and not have to worry about math and science ever again. So they're behaving a lot like a trade school, which is awesome. And then on top of that, you can do training abroad, which means you could literally tour foreign countries. I think you may have to be, I think you may be required to learn a different language at that point, but I'm not sure. I mean, I would voluntarily learn Japanese so that I could go to Japan and then go to the Funimation building and meet Akira Toriyama and maybe help him design something Dragon Ball related, because that would be awesome. Akira Toriyama is one of my he's one of my heroes. So unfortunately, my other hero, Monty Ohm, you may know of him or you may not. He was responsible for making the viral YouTube video that debuted in 2007. It was called Haloid. It had Samus Aran from Metroid Prime fighting Master Chief, who incidentally turned out to be a woman at the end of the video. And because of that video, Midway Games hired him to create a web series called Dead Fantasy, which had Dead or Alive characters fighting Final Fantasy characters. And yeah, that web series was incredible. It was really awesome. But after he did that, Rooster Teeth employed him to do Red vs. Blue Season 9. And shortly after that, he passed away. So that's a hero of mine that I'll never get to meet. But it's crazy to think that all these people that I really look up to, all of these people who have influenced me in some way, people that I aspire to be like and make creations which are as fantastic as theirs are, it's a jarring concept to think that I'm more capable than they are, meaning that Monty Ohm was just an animator, and Akira Toriyama, I think he does some illustration, but he's mostly a writer. I am a writer, an illustrator, an animator, and a video editor. I can do 3 times more than what Monty Ohm did, and I can do 2 times more than what Akira Toriyama does. Now, I'm not trying to sound arrogant or anything. It's just, it's crazy to think that, here I am, unemployed, and not sure if I can make it through next month. Wow, people who can do less than what I can do are rightfully famous. Don't take anything away from those guys. Those guys were amazing. Hence why they're my heroes. Oh yeah, Ruby. I almost forgot about that. Yeah. No, I don't think he might have done some very early work for Ruby, but Ruby was beyond his time. Well, I mean, how my life has really kind of like, let me just put it on intermission since we're just chatting at the moment. How my life has really kind of transpired was my parents put a crayon in my hand when I was like 2 years old, and so I was drawing from that point on, and all out throughout elementary school, I won blue ribbons up until my high school year. I think it was sophomore year. I went to a art competition, a state art competition in Arkansas, and I won 3rd place in state twice in the same competition. I got 3rd place in state for my still life, and then 3rd place in state for my sketchbook, which was incredible. It was one of the most fantastic experiences of my life. Definitely like way up there on top of like all the accolades that I've ever achieved. And so you would think that I would take my art seriously at that point, but I was only doing art because I was bored. I hated school. Hated school. I still have nightmares about going back to school. I fucking hate school. Anyway, so I didn't take my art seriously beyond that point. It was just like, oh, hey, I did this. You know, that's some bragging rights, I guess. But I wanted something to do with, like, gaming. I wanted some type of career to do with gaming. Would you believe that I actually did indie wrestling before I even did anything art-related? So then I worked at a tattoo shop called Stigma Tattoo in Muscatine, Iowa, with a guy named Jake Zoller. And I don't want to talk poorly about the dude, but he is very unprofessional. So much of his personal life bleeds in with his career that he's just really lousy to his employees. He's just really, I mean, outstanding artist. Take nothing away from him there, but he's just a really shitty person to people. And so he actually, I was living there at the shop and working kind of as a secretary. A lot of my work is on people in that area. And he ended up kicking me out because I had dirt underneath my fingernails. Mind you, I just ran errands for him like 15 minutes before that happened. So it's like I didn't even get time to clean my nails out. How can you fire me for doing, like you literally had me go get dirty and then you fired me for getting dirty? So after that whole fiasco, I did indie wrestling, and then my father passed away, and I kind of just gave up for a while. I was really in a really dark place. And then 2015 rolled around. I made my third YouTube page, and that's how I grew up in the world, so to speak. Is I got started with the YouTube, doing my Warframe God Build series. And after that really took off, very, very quickly. I slowed down again. I started becoming really, really inactive because I had two different women that were domestically violent. When I first started my third YouTube page, I was living with a lady in Jamaica, Queens, New York, and she didn't become abusive until we were already broken up. And so she actually tried to end my life with a hammer. So that was fun. Fun fact, I had never hit a woman before that point. I never had to, but I had to do it in self-defense, and it kind of hurt me. Hurt me mentally, emotionally, that I had to do that. But so that was no good, and I ended up moving out, and that's coincidentally when I stopped live streaming. So that was like 2 years ago. Then I met my child's mother, and the rest is pretty much documented on YouTube. And now I'm here in this not so beautiful apartment, living the life on my own. Yeah, so people know about my most recent ex-girlfriend, but they don't know that the ex-girlfriend before that was also abusive, but she only ever attacked me once, whereas this most recent ex-girlfriend attacked me multiple times, repeatedly, for a year and a half. And I don't know why I endured it for as long as I did, but I just did. The first okay, so we got into minor fist fights, things where it's just like a scrap or two, and that's something that you can forgive. I think that if you like somebody enough, the sex is good, and then you also feel as though you're compatible with them emotionally. I was invested in her. I felt as though I could fall in love with her, and every time she would get angry to that point where it became violent, I just felt like it was her disorder taking the wheel. And so I put up with it from summer of 2018 up until September, when she took a laptop and smashed it off my chest, and that's when I decided I had enough. So I moved to Massachusetts, but on the day of my moving, we found out that we got a call from her doctor stating that she was pregnant. So all that time that I was in Massachusetts, I just felt really, really guilty that I was one of those deadbeat dads that took off the minute I found out my lady was pregnant, and I couldn't visualize myself as that type of person. And so I had to come back. Despite everybody telling me not to do it, they're like, don't go back. Like, why would you ever go back to that? Like, I just had to. That and the fact that she's such a good actor. Like, she has everyone in this area fooled. The way that she tells this story, she honestly tells people that I stomped on the back of her head, which is true. But keep in mind, this is after a full year and a half worth of abuse that I did nothing. I literally just took her beatings. And so I kept warning her. I'm like, if the police aren't going to do something about that, if they're not going to defend me, I'm going to defend myself. And I warned her and warned her and warned her, and finally I fought back. And yes, that's the night that I stomped on the back of her head. She slapped me in the face. I got up. I pushed her. She didn't like that too much, and she tried to put me in a headlock and drag me to the ground. And instead, I pushed her head into the ground, stomped on her. Twice, maybe 3 times, just to give her a warning, like, back off, I'm fighting back now. Like, I've had enough of your shit. So that's when she moved out. But the funny thing is that the funniest thing about this whole situation is, after all this abuse that I've endured from her, she has the order of protection against me. But there's a big but here. And not a physical butt, because I'd love to have a thick lady twerking in my face right now, since I'm a bachelor now. But the big but in all of this is that she did not get the order of protection right away. Like, she moved out Halloween night, and it wasn't until mid-November that she got the order of protection. And you want to know why she got that order of protection? Because CPS was involved. And I didn't even do that. I was not responsible for that. Her registered nurse had witnessed her being aggressive to me on one of her visits. And so she gave me her card and told me to call her if anything were to happen. So that's exactly what I did. I called her registered nurse and I said, she hit me, and this time I fought back. I just couldn't take it anymore. And she's like, well, do you want me to contact authorities? And I'm like, you can do whatever you want. I just want to let you know that, I'm on my own now. I don't have a phone. I don't have food. I don't have anything. That's actually when I was working on the GoFundMe video. And then so the registered nurse called CPS, and in response to the CPS getting involved with her and my child, she got an order of protection against me. So it's going to look really, really stupid when we actually go into the custody battle and I fight for full custody, and and the judge looks at this and is like, you claim that you were so afraid of him, but you waited almost an entire month to get an order of protection on him? It almost seems like you did that to spite him for calling CPS because he had a legitimate concern. He saw you hold a knife to your child's throat. And I should have reported her then. Not that Syracuse, New York would have done anything about it, but, yeah, that GoFundMe money is almost already, it went for a long time. I stretched it out for a long time. Obviously, I'm in this new place. It's definitely not the same place that I was recording from when, before Halloween. So I was able to take that money and I was able to move, and I was able to get a place of my own and get set up. I'm waiting to be tested for autism, which is something that I should have been. That's initially the reason why I came to New York, is because insomnia, depression, anxiety, all that stuff. So now all of this happening was kind of a blessing in disguise, because now I'm taking the time to focus on myself, but I'm also doing it for my daughter's sake, because I want to be the best possible father that I can for her. And I want her to be proud of her dad. I want her to grow up one day and be like, that's my dad. My dad put that TV show on YouTube. So, anyway, let's get back to work. Having so much fun. Alright. Gonna copy my layers. This time getting rid of the fingers. We're also gonna get rid of the gauntlets as well, because we just don't need them right now. I'm gonna go ahead and separate all this like I did with the fingers. Put it on a separate layer. Shit. Probably ought to do that a little bit better though. Okay, cut and paste. Now that that's on a different layer, we can just grab like so. Yeah, I mean, it's all right. I procrastinate doing my art so much as it is anyways, and never mind the fact that I literally cannot use my pen. Like, it's dragging down my frame rates just to do that, so I can't draw on stream tonight. So I figured all I'm going to do tonight is just create assets, which is fine. I mean, it still gives you a sneak peek. If you're wondering what... So I'm going to save this as inside palm. If you're wondering why I'm doing all of this, there's a big video that I'm working on. It's going to be an animated... if you're a fan of death battles, screw attack death battles, then you're really going to like this animation video that I'm working on. Because it's very similar. I'm going to be animating 2 specific characters fighting. And I'm hoping that the video will go viral because of who, the special guest character that I'm featuring. He's a relatively big name. People know who he is. So let's underside palm. Well, if I could add real quick, I would love to add it, but I've already showed a little animation on a green screen of this character here kicking Murakamo in the gut. I don't remember. Okay, no, at the beginning of Warframe God Builds Revenant, you are treated to the first 10 seconds of this video, and it shows this character Vashed, which I've shown in a speed paint before, and I've also shown Murakamo in a speed paint before. So the audience should automatically already know who these characters are if they've been longtime fans of my page. But no, this is not the main character. Who Murakamo is going to end up fighting is going to be somebody totally different. The reason why I'm creating assets for this character, Vashed, is because there's a big chunk of Exidium history that I'm going to be cramming into this video. So let's think about for a second the timeline of Dragon Ball Z. So like from at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, which is the end of Dragon Ball, you have villains from Raditz to Nappa to Vegeta to, we're just gonna skip over the Ginyu Force and every battle on Namek, Frieza, Cell, Boo. And all throughout those battles, Goku is getting stronger. Well, the same type of thing happens with Murakamo. It's kind of like that movie, I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically where like a meteorite hits Earth and these kids touch it, and then all of a sudden they get powers. Chronicle. So the more he works the more he uses his abilities, it's like a muscle. The stronger it gets. So villain after villain after villain after villain, there's a big story progression with Maracmo, and I'm condensing basically all of that story into one video. So technically the video is canon, but technically it's also not, because it's condensing, you know, the events of like 2 different books into one little video. So you're getting a lot. You're gonna get a lot in this video, but it's for the sake of who he's going up against. He's going up against someone who he's gonna need to be really, really powered up to fight. So I'm excited to release it. If there's one thing you guys can do for me to give back to me for putting out all this effort, make a reaction video. Record yourself seeing this video for the first time, because I'm in a voice acting group on Facebook, and I will be trying to recruit local talent if I can find local talent, or talent on Facebook, talent over YouTube, whatever, to voice these characters. I already have someone who's scheduled to voice this character that I'm working on right here, but I do not have voice actors for the other 2 participants. So, yeah, it's going to be a full-featured video. Like I'm aiming to make it 20 minutes. That's my goal. I want to make it a solid 20 minutes of just non-stop action. Just non-stop, like Dragon Ball Z style ass kicking. So let's go ahead and keep working, because definitely can't do it without all the stuff we're working on here. Alright, so now that we've backside palm, cut that out, paste it, and mask that layer. Grab this sucker, and this is, I would say this is side palm, front side palm, probably. Yeah. No. Backside. Yeah. Backside side palm. That will definitely help me to distinguish the differences between. And then this is legitimately the backside palm. I could even call this knuckles if I wanted to. I think we'll do that just so I know for future reference. No, not Knuckles the Hedgehog, because he's pretty worthless. You wish you could do a reaction video because you don't have the equipment. Oh, see, what you do is, if you got a smartphone, you just record the video itself, and then you can upload straight to YouTube. And like when you upload it to YouTube, there's a little drop-down bar that you can click that says private. That way, when you do get on your computer, you can literally download the video off of yourself. So you upload it to YouTube, set it to private, that way nobody can see it, that way you don't feel embarrassed if you're worried about being embarrassed. And then once you have computer access again, you go to your YouTube account, you go to video editor or video like creator beta, and then you just click classic editor, and then you can download the video off of your YouTube onto your computer, and then send it in an email or put it on Facebook or do whatever with it. And I mean, if enough people do that, like if I get as little as 10 people to do reaction videos for me, I will feature it in a later video on YouTube. Like I will do that. But I just, the problem is like I can get a lot of people to participate in polls. Like that's the #1 thing people will participate in. But I've asked them to do speed paints or drawings like fan art, and I've gotten like no participation in that whatsoever. So now I figure I just advertise it. Like if you want to be semi YouTube famous, then you know you can do a reaction video and I will feature it. So yeah, see how I thought of it is funny. It goes back to my daughter. So there's a lot of, like, there's potential video evidence that I have against my daughter's mother that I recorded off my phone, and I figured, well, shit, how am I going to put this on the computer so that I can use it as evidence? Well, I put it on my YouTube, but I put it on private so that nobody could see it. And then I got on my computer and I saved it, and then I sent it out to as emails so that even if for some reason someone came across my computer and smashed it or found those files and deleted them, they'd still be out in the world. Um, I'm very clever when it comes to not losing shit. Like I am the victim of a computer that's crashed before, okay? And I learned my lesson. Believe me, I lost my first trilogy. That was like the only bulk of writing I've ever done in my entire life, and as a result of it, I never wrote again. At least not in bulk. I've wrote poetry and I've wrote short stories, but I haven't really wrote anything in bulk as a result of that because it was really depressing. But yeah, I lost my computer, so I figured, you know, I'm not gonna lose anything ever again. Like I'm gonna find ways to I'm gonna find ways around the system. Like even when this was back when you didn't have cloud storage. Now you've got cloud storage, and so anything that you want to put on your computer and not lose, you can put it on the cloud, and that's available for on OneDrive. If you're familiar with OneDrive, it's free. So I use OneDrive, like for the videos that like the God Builds series, the intro that you see at the very beginning, the like the characters that I've drawn, they're on my OneDrive. So this is probably the third computer I've edited God Builds on, and I'm still using the same set of intros and the same, you know, outros and stuff like that. And I do it because I put it on cloud storage. So, like I said, I'm pretty clever about that. The loser, as in me, is here. Don't talk about yourself like that. Don't be that mean to yourself. I am officially done with my coffee. So let's wrap this up. It's going. Yep. It's we have a 2-hour runtime now. So let's duplicate this layer. Let's cut all this out. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. Let's. Well, actually, I only need one. I only need one of these, because literally when you're rigging, you only need one. Like if they're literally the same piece, you just flip it. So I only need one of these. So all I'm gonna do is cut this out and paste it. That way it goes on a separate layer. Get rid of it, and then grab this, expand it, and save. And we're going to call this front side gauntlet or front side forearm. Oh no, I am totally dumb. I should not be doing that. I should also include the arms layer at this point. Yeah, that would be helpful. Let's go ahead and duplicate that layer too. Oh, I am so glad I caught that, because that would have caused me a lot of trouble. Let's use the lasso tool. That's a little bit better. Shit. There's a very small space that I have to make it between perfectly. Going straight down to the Mariana Trench, folks. Hopefully we're going to discover the Megalodon. Cut all this out. And now what I want to do is I want to break it up into a forearm. So we're going to get rid of the excess here. Yep. Just going to take this on in and erase the area that will eventually end up being articulated or animated. I like to use that word articulation because it has to do with instead of like sprite sheets or model sheets, it has to do with action figures. And I grew up on action figures, and I did stop motion animation in my teenage years, and it's so fun. Like if I had the money to do that, I would buy a shit ton of action figures and then do custom paints and stuff like that. I'd paint them all to look like Exidium characters and just do stop motion animation like The Nightmare Before Christmas, except for The Nightmare Before Christmas was obviously claymation and mine would be stop motion animation. So my interest for stop motion animation is kind of what led me into animation in general. I haven't necessarily done animation for 3D, but I've done it for 2D, and I'm going to be doing it for 2D again. So now that we've got this complete forearm, I'm going to drag this layer up here, and then I'm going to combine it with that layer, and then grab this here, and expand it like so. Sorry about the redneck accent. I had to pay homage to all my friends and family back in Arkansas. And we're going to save it as front side forearm. Again, you guys can't see this part, but I'm just saving it. Not a big deal, as I've got flies doing their thing around my head. They're going to piss me off. Alright. So I still need the arms layer, still need the... Oh, what the hell happened there? Okay. I'm just being retarded. That's all that happened. Alright, so we're just going to need to do the same thing. God, we're going to need to do the same thing for the side arm, side inside arm, and then side back arm. Why did I do this to myself? I'm not going to use the arms layer for anything except for the back side, I think, on this one. I think that would be the best approach. So let's duplicate the arms and waist layer, and then get rid of everything we don't need again. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Now, just to give myself like a little... Wow, that does not look right. Okay. Let me instead do the inverse of that. There we go. All right. Yep, that's the ticket right there. So that's what it looks, or that's what it's supposed to look like from a backside view. If I were to create a character that if you're seeing this side of his body and not the inside or the top, so this portion right here, damn it, let me just properly grab that. So this portion right here and I'm not grabbing on the right layer either. This portion right here is going to end up being this portion, the inside forearm. And so it's very, very important if you're doing work like what I'm doing, that you properly name and categorize everything. If you don't know the human anatomy by now, you probably should consider going back to school, or at least educating yourself a little bit by Googling. Google is a wonderful tool, as long as you have the adult safe search turned on, because otherwise you get Dave the Barbarian porn. Rule 34, folks. One of the most majestic things I've ever seen. Alright. Gonna do exactly what we did the last time and just shave off all the unnecessary components that we do not need from the arm. That way all we're getting is what we need for this specific asset. I hate, absolutely hate, that I cannot use my pen. It's upsetting, but I'll restart my computer and then mess with the streams later on and see if I can get it to work on stream, which would be really, really radical. Okay, so let's just, because I feel like I'm gonna need all of, well, I'm gonna need this for sure. I'm gonna need this later on, so let's just cut that and then paste it. That was not the right layer. Let's try that again. Select with lasso, cut, paste. What cutting and pasting does is by default puts it on a separate layer, so it's individual from everything else. Now, I may want to rethink that. 1 second. Okay, no, I'm good. I'm still good. Wow, my mind just totally blanked out. Let me just make sure, because I don't want to lose. I definitely don't want to lose data here. Yeah, no, that's not good at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this down here. I'm going to combine these layers because I've made a critical error. And now we can start messing with it the way that I want to. Who is the #1 villain? Oh man, that is an amazing question. 1 second, I will get right back to you. I was looking up Nightwave and found myself looking at Jakar Tube Girl, Rule 34. Oh god, Rule 34. I shouldn't even have brought Rule 34 up. Okay, so back to the question I was asked about my... Now, I have to force you to specify a little bit. When you say, who is the #1 villain, in what context do you mean that? Do you mean like the #1 strongest villain? Or my favorite villain? Or just like the #1 in overall stats? How do you mean that? Because I feel as though I can't specifically answer that question if I don't have more context on it. the background color. Combine my layers. Most dangerous. It's got to be either the one that I'm working on right now, or that's a tough one too. It's got to be either the one I'm working on now or Eclipser, and I've not. The only time you guys have ever heard of Eclipser was if you are a follower of the page and you happen to watch my Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 God builds. There's a character by the name of Elixir. Eclipser is his brother. He's an Anunnaki, and I would say that in terms of how dangerous this guy is, well, for one thing, he could punch you so hard that you would be sent flying past the Milky Way, like out of Earth's atmosphere and out of the Milky Way. Like, that's the velocity in which he can hit you with. So realistically, that would turn you into a mist. Like, the impact of his fist hitting your face would literally turn you into a mist. So he's meant to do battle with like god type characters, and that's not even the most dangerous aspect about him. The most dangerous aspect about him is because he's, in terms of the writing, like his storyline and his ideals, he's more comparable to Hitler. He wants to eradicate a very specific species of life, and that is the Prometheans, which are god vessels for the mythological deities in the spiritual world. The ones who can astral project themselves into physical bodies, meaning Egyptian gods. So how he wants to go about doing it is very extreme, and I'm very hesitant of what I tell you here because I don't want to spoil anything. But he has a plan to eradicate these people and take control of the kingdom of Osiris, which leads to Hotep, the Egyptian version of heaven. And how he intends to do that is very, 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 very dangerous. Like, so the whole reason why my universe is named Exidium is because there's these three objects called the elements of Exidium, and when they come together, they're called the Exidium Force. And yeah, he wants to combine them. It's comparable to the Infinity Gauntlet, except for it's much more destructive by comparison. Just crossing one of the three elements together at the wrong time or without proper mathematical precision will result in the death of a galaxy, at the very least. Some of the elements have the upward capability of annihilating an entire reality. One of the elements specifically can restart a universe. It could, like, devolve human evolution all the way back to the Stone Age. So the elements that he's tampering with, they're not like the Infinity Gauntlet. They're not like the Infinity Stones. They're much more powerful by comparison. One of the elements I can straight up tell you right now is like leftover remnants of the creation of reality. When Amun-Ra basically committed the Big Bang, one of the elements is called the Million Flame, and the Million Flame is a flame that can't be put out. There's only one substance that can put it out, and that it's another element of Exidium. So it's kind of like a trifecta. It's a holy trinity of sorts. You need this element to deal with this element, and you need that element. It gets very complex, and all of these elements are very, very essential to the storyline and the progression, all on its own. You will, I can guarantee you one thing: you will be introduced in this animation video that I'm working on here. You will be introduced to one of those elements. You will definitely see it and have it fully explained to you. But I think that the most exciting thing about it for me is the fact that this element is canon, and that it's going to serve a huge role when I actually start rolling out like weekly episodes. Now, I don't think I'm going to be doing weekly episodes through 2D animation. Instead, what I may end up doing is a machinima. So that's why I've asked my YouTube audience is if they want me to go back to Season 1 God Builds and cover everyone that I didn't do with trailers. That way I can actually show Exidium-based canon through Warframe footage. And so you can become familiarized with some of these characters. For instance, Rhino. Rhino's a big one. Rhino's a big one. Valkyr's a big one. Avara. Limbo. Limbo's definitely got, or I mean, yeah, Limbo. Limbo's definitely got a potential Exidium canon story. Vauban's one. Essentially, all the God builds that I did in Season 1 are portraying specific Exidium characters. Yeah, definitely. It's cool to actually be bringing these stories to life. That's the coolest thing about it, is having written this stuff when I was in high school. And just to give you an estimate of how long ago that was, my graduation year was 2008. So you can imagine that if I wrote a trilogy way back then, that I've learned so much since then, that I've I've independently studied a lot of different things. Like actually, one second, I'm gonna set this to be right back, and it's literally only gonna take me like 10 seconds. Hang on. All right. So a friend of mine, I told him that shortly after I moved into this new apartment, someone broke into it and stole a bunch of stuff from me, and some of it was my Osiris shoes. And anyone who knows me knows I love Egyptian mythology. Goddamn flies. And so he sent me this book, and yeah, it was just really cool of him to do that. Because I'm really big into Egyptian mythology, and that's one of the things that I've independently researched, and therefore I've incorporated it into my writing, into my storylines. So much of it is based off of Egyptian mythology, and if that turns anybody off, I just want them to note that my storylines aren't direct ripoffs. Instead, they're kind of like filler. So the way that I explain Egyptian storylines is kind of like the parallels or the netting in between the webbing. Like if you imagine a spider web and each strand having space in between, I fill those spaces in between with storylines that are going on with humans on Earth. Stuff that the gods have no idea is going on. Because time is relative. And so where the gods exist, a day spent there is equivalent to like 100 years on Earth. So things are happening so rapidly on Earth that, like just yesterday, humans were like no more evolved from basic Neanderthals. So the gods like literally turn away for a couple of days and relax in the sun, and then all of a sudden humans are they've colonized another planet, and they have like laser technology, and they can perform slip space jumps, and they're like, oh, what is going on? So there's a lot of things that happen that fly completely under the radar of the gods, and one of those things is this villain that I'm creating. I'm creating this character known as Vasht, and he's the first Earthborn demon. There's demons that exist in the realm of the Toa, which is the Egyptian equivalent of hell. But a lot of unique, completely unique characters come out of Egyptian background, which it doesn't have a whole lot to do. Like, some of the characters have a lot to do with Egyptian mythology, like the dragons, the Apep, but Vasht specifically has nothing to do with Egyptian culture at all. Mrakmo, nothing to do with Egyptian culture. So what I try to do is when I'm writing a character, I try to add something for everyone. There is time travel in my universe. There is also fantasy, dragons, medieval, Knights of the Round Table, Excalibur, and King Arthur. There's stuff like that. But then there's also, like some Mass Effect, Halo, Star Wars stuff going on. It covers just about every genre known to man. And there's a bunch of stories involving romance, war, drugs, very adult situations. Like I said, I try to write something for everyone. I've just only recently started scratching the surface of African mythology, because and I'm not necessarily doing it for black fans, but I want to like kind of encourage a generation of rich colored uh, origins. Like, I feel as though when writers and illustrators do stories about African Americans or Africans, just any type of black history at all, they only scratch the surface, and they only like Wakanda in Marvel's Black Panther. They kind of just made up this city that's African based, and everyone there speaks that accent. I mean, it's still a white man's manufactured vision of what African culture was like, and I don't want to do that. I want to actually study their mythology and study it the way that I did Egyptian, Norse, and Greek, and incorporate it into my story and tell a very accurate, like a very, I mean, I always put a science fiction twist to the things that I write, so it's not going to be 100% accurate to the stories that you would read in African mythology, but I would like to start incorporating that into my work, and that way the black fan base that I have can really feel like they're getting a rich history, and they're learning black history from my continuity, just as Egyptians or Arabic people would learn Egyptian history from my continuity, or Norse, like if you're a pagan and you follow Vikings and the Volknut and stuff like that. There's a chapter. There's definitely a huge saga in there for those people as well. So it all ties back into the point that trying to write something in there for everybody, trying to please all the audiences that I have, and that's what it's been about for me. That's how I grew up. As I was watching all these crazy cartoons and these oddly educational movies, like cult classics like Donnie Darko and The Fourth Kind, and they helped me to expand my mind, and they inspired me as a writer. So I figured, you know what, let's take everything that I've ever learned throughout my entire life, since I like to independently research things so much, and let's put it all in a blender and shove it back into the world. Yep, and that's basically how I've lived a good chunk of my life is crafting stories that were inspired from other stories. Of course, without directly plagiarizing, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in plagiarizing. I think that at this day and age, in 2019, nothing's original. There's no such thing as original anymore. Like, everything was inspired from something. So, my goal is to just blatantly tell you that I'm inspired by this, or I'm inspired by this, and this is my twist to it. This is my writer's twist to it. This is my illustrative twist to it. This is my style. This is my retelling. That's what I do. Well, that's not the layer that I need. I probably need to do the inside and outside forearms now. Just because there's going to be so much twisting going on with this character. His mannerisms are very odd. Oh, speaking of things that inspire other things, this character, fun fact, this is your behind-the-scenes exclusive information for anybody who cares. This character, Vash, is an amalgamation of Carnage from Spider-Man and the Joker from Batman. Vash is kind of like the love child that Joker and Carnage would produce. He's sinister and maniacal, but he's also murderous and psychotic. So, but in terms of power scaling, way more powerful than Joker or Carnage. Like, you could actually fuse those two together and they would still not even be a tenth as powerful as this character. This character is just, well, he's purposely written to be overpowered because that's the dynamic of this character. Is he literally has the power to snap anyone out of existence, but he is the demon god of torture. And so if he were to do so, then that would be the end of his fun. I like to write stories like that. I like to write stories where this character is undefeatable, but he doesn't kill people because it would end his joy. And so he wants to prolong their agony and have a good laugh at it. Another situation that I like to write about is real life physics in a superhero world. For instance, let me just go back into intermission again. For instance, if you have a plane that's going down, like a 747 that's carrying a lot of people, and Superman goes to try and, stop it. He puts his hands on it and he stops it from falling. That would never happen in the real world because of physics. His momentum, in their momentum, which is terminal velocity, Superman would punch a hole through the cockpit, pushing the cockpit into the passenger area and just making it crunch on itself. We see this in moments of impact when vehicles crash against a brick wall or a cement wall. Like the velocity that's carrying their motion causes, like, the front end will stop, but that also means that velocity is still transferred because energy is neither created or destroyed, simply transferred. Same way with momentum. Momentum is just like a physical energy. So when the point of impact happens, yeah, the front of the car stops, but the back of the car doesn't, and it results in it like crunching and smashes in. The same thing would happen if Superman tried to stop a 747 from free falling. His sudden stopping of the airplane would cause it to crunch in on itself. And so that's literally one of the things that happens when Murakmo starts superheroing. He tries to save an airplane from going down, when in reality, he kills them a lot more viciously than what they would have been killed if they just would have hit the surface of the earth. They would have had a chance at survival, but he just turns them into a sandwich. So, and I like to write about stuff like that because then there's a human element to it. Yes, he's become this god and he has the strength to stop a plane from crashing, but he doesn't know how to apply. Like he knows nothing about physics, nothing. So when he actually tries to save people, he ends up killing them, and then people don't. Then people wonder if he's a superhero at all. They're just like, "Oh, you're a monster. You killed all those people." And then there's some people who are like, "You need to chill out. He didn't mean to do it. It was an accident." Like he tried to save them, and then he struggles with that conflict internally. There's so much dynamic there that I don't feel like comic book writers take advantage of. Like Marvel Comics doesn't talk about stuff like that. DC Comics doesn't talk about stuff like that. Can you imagine trying to save a school bus full of kids from hitting like a train or something? Like say the bus's brakes went out and they were like gonna collide with a train, and you get in front of the bus and you try to stop it, but when you stop it, you force it to just like wrap around you, like it becomes like a, a, a a candy bar wrapper. It just flails in the wind and conforms to your body. It wraps around you like a bed cover, and so you've literally just smashed all those kids. Like you've turned them into liquid. Like they're literally just piles of skin and meat on the floor and blood everywhere. Can you like how haunting would that be? How would you even be able to sleep for the next 2 weeks? Like you would be haunted by that. And so I talk about that in my writing. I show that in my writing. I show the emotional impact that this has on my characters when they try to do the good thing and it just turns out so horribly. So I hope if me explaining that has done anything for anybody, it's inspired them to write stories like that. If you're a writer and you're seeing this video, you should write stories like that too, because there's not enough of them out there. And if you're not a writer, then you know what to look forward to when you start seeing my writing. I did write the first 50% of chapter 1. I should say that I rewrote it because I already did it when I was in high school, but I rewrote the first chapter, the first 50% of it, and I may release that to the public at a later date. Not right now. Not right now. Yeah. Actually, there was one time in Marvel Comics in which they did something like that, and that was at the beginning of Civil War. The New Warriors tried to combat the House of M, if memory serves me correctly. And this is based off of the comic book origins of Civil War, not the MCU, not the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the mutant Nitro, once the New Warriors tried to apprehend him, he actually blew up. Like he blew up like a nuclear bomb, and he did it right next to a school district, and it killed all the school employees and the children, and so that's what led to the Superhero Registration Act, which resulted in Civil War. So the comic was way more epic than the movie. The movie was like a civil battle. It wasn't really a civil war. The comics were actually a war. Like there was many battles that took place, and there was a lot of stuff that went down. It's like one of my favorite comics. So Marvel did do a good job of showing like human casualty and how it affects heroes, but they don't do it often enough. Not like my series does. My series is constantly holding a microscope under its heroes and villains because spoiler alert, death is permanent. Like when you die in my universe, you don't come back. You're dead. You're gone for good. So yeah, the heroes and all the characters that pass away, they've got to deal with the passing of all the other characters as well, and so it's built to be a traumatic thing. It's built to be a very, very traumatic thing. So I want to get rid of this. Now, I may end up streaming for 3 hours because, I mean, we're already beyond the 2 hour mark. We're into 2.5 hours. But I will not be going beyond 9 o'clock. So I will try to wrap this up by then. And I will, if for whatever the reason people want to see this live stream, I will try to share it to YouTube. And yeah. So if you want to go back and rewatch it for whatever the reason, you will have the opportunity to do so. And because I didn't play any music, I won't be demonetized. So that's nice. But I gotta finish this forearm because you guys have been having me talk so much that I've been distracted. But it's good. It's good to be talking to you guys again live. I hope that my live streams become more popular over time, and we all end up having a lot of conversations like this because I've actually kind of missed this. I used to do it all the time, but I wasn't doing anything that I enjoyed at the time. I was doing gaming, and as I said at the beginning of the stream, the older I got, the less interested in video games I was. And so I was bored of playing Warframe, I was bored of playing Guardians of Orion, I was bored of everything that I was live streaming. And it just, every time I streamed, it felt like such a chore. And now it doesn't feel like a chore. Now it just feels like I'm talking to a buddy while I'm working. And this technically is work because I will eventually be paid for it. So, again, another thing that I did, if you weren't here at the beginning of the stream, is sometimes when I'm creating assets like this, like if I'm clearly I'm making the inside of his forearm, what I'll do is I'll go into the layer behind it and just fill in any space that needs to be occupied with the one of the skin tones that is the most adjacent to the body. And I'll fill that in. That way, whenever I do the rigging process in my animation software, it won't look so awkward. And so I can combine this layer, what I just created, what I just drew, and then I'm going to do what I always do, is grab it, expand it, get rid of the background. Wow, that glitch is happening again, okay? It happened earlier in the stream, but I want to point it out just so everybody sees it this time. I am trying, you see how like I can hide the visibility of certain layers? You know, I can turn these layers off and on. I'm clicking the eye icon. I am doing that with the background. And now it does it. Wow, it tries to make a liar out of me. Unbelievable. I've got a ghost in the system. There's a ghost in the machine. God damn it, Scarlett Johansson. Why did you have to whitewash? Okay. Saving it as PNG. Inside forearm. And I no longer need that layer, so we're going to move on to the next one. Yeah, death should be, well, I was killing off characters before Game of Thrones ever became a thing, so if that gives you any clue as to the type of material you're going to be subjected to when you get introduced to the Exidium universe, there's your insider exclusive. You heard it first. I would encourage you not to get too attached to any one character once you finally start getting into my universe. If you guys become fans of my universe and you like my writing, don't get mad at me because I killed off characters. That's reality, man. That's what happens when I don't like a story that doesn't have consequences. I don't like a story in which you go to war and there's no loss. Like you don't lose the brother that you grew up with in a horrific way. And sometimes you go out and there's no meaning to it. Like I hear so many complaints about, oh, well, they just killed off this character and there was no meaning to it. I'm like, yeah, well, that's what happens. Sometimes in real life, you just take a stray bullet. One of my favorite moments in Halo Reach, the storyline of it, was when Kat took a needle round in the back of the head and it killed her. Like, she was sprinting to extraction. I think she was in mid-sentence. I think she was talking to the group, and then she just took a needle to the back of the head, and she's dead. She's just talking and just blip, gone. And I'm like, wow, holy shit. I mean, I didn't really much care for the character, so it didn't emotionally impact me. But that moment was so powerful that it resonated with me. It's something that needs to happen more often in games and movies, because that is the horror of war. You could enlist with like 10 other friends of yours, and you know, by the time you get back from war, you may be the only one that's left standing out of those 10. You may be the one who gets killed right in front of your friends, and then you know it causes them to have PTSD whenever they get back from the war. You know, shit happens. Like it's real life, and I think that the closer I can bring you to real life with all these fantasy and sci-fi elements going on, the more likely you are to believe it and be immersed in it. And the thing is that I try to explain everything scientifically. I try to explain even a werewolf transformation to you. That way you feel as though, like, oh shit, could werewolves really exist? Because when I was researching this stuff, I was thinking that shit too. I was like, wow, could werewolves really exist? Like, they even have their own genome names. They have their own genome names. Like scientists actually, or biologists actually categorize them in the same way that they give species their name. So I have that written down somewhere. I'm going to try to find that for you real quick. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Just some of the stuff that I independently research. Now, I am going to be really, really horrible with these pronunciations because they're difficult to say. But basically, a werecat. So someone who doesn't transform into a werewolf, but someone who transforms into a werecat. It's named a alienthropy? Eileranthropy. Yeah, Eileranthropy. Eileranthropy. Because transforming into a werewolf is lycanthropy. Well, this one's Eileranthropy. A werebear is... the name for it is Ursidathropy? Ursidathropy. Yeah. If you don't believe me, you could look this stuff up on your own. You will have to dig a little bit deep to find like species and genome names, but they're there. So yeah, I keep clicking on that layer that I don't need. Okay, so I made the arms. I'm trying to think of what else I need. Got the legs, the torso. What all? So we did the torso for sure. I haven't completed the hair, so I can't do that. We've done the face. I already did the inside of his mouth before I did the live stream. I've done the bottom jaw today. And did we actually complete? Okay, so that's the one that I'm missing, is the inside gauntlet. Or did I get the inside gauntlet? Let me open up my folder and look. Yeah, we got the inside gauntlet. That's done. So I don't need that layer. I'm trying to think of what else I need, because I'm trying to wrap this up. We've got around 13 minutes left to go in this stream if we want to make it till 9 o'clock and have it be 3 hours. A 3-hour long stream. Pretty long. Props to the one viewer who remained here the entire time. I don't know who you are, but you're cool as fuck. And everybody else who is participating in the chat, you're equally as cool. So if you guys, I will probably do this stream either Saturday or Sunday next weekend. I will let everyone know on my YouTube page in the middle of the week when I'm going to stream. I may even do a poll. I may cast a poll on my Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter and see what specific day people want me to stream on. And depending upon those results, I may just end up streaming Saturday and Sunday. I don't know. It depends on what type of schedule I'm looking at. But yeah. All things considered, pretty good stream today. We got some work done. There was a lot of distractions, but it comes with the territory. We're talking with your people. Trying to figure out what else I need to close out the stream, because I wanted to get all of the upper body done, but really the only thing that I'm left with is the biceps and the shoulders. I gotta get the biceps and the shoulders done in probably a bird's eye view, but other than that, we got a considerable amount of stuff done. You most likely will not see me complete asset creation this stream. Probably later in the week I will finish creating assets for this character, because I want to use this week to work on the animation itself. I don't have any court dates or appointments or anything, so I'm really basically just going to be staying in all week and working on this animation. There's been a lot of days within the past 2 months that I didn't have to work on this animation. And even before that, before I got into the altercation that I did with my daughter's mother, I was working on animations for this. So this is almost half of a year's worth of work that I'm going to be putting into this upcoming video. So what I want to do is I want to get it finished as quickly as possible and put it on YouTube, because I've still got a lot of stuff to do for it. I've got to make the actual animations, and then once I finish with the animations, I have to have people to come in and do voice acting, and so I have to lip sync with the animations, and then on top of that I'm going to put in background music so that it flows really nicely. So there's a lot of stuff. I'll probably put out some trailers, maybe. No, I'm not going to do trailers. I really thought about that for a second, and I don't want to give away who Murakamo is fighting. I want it to be a surprise. So, I don't know, that's a good stopping point for today, I'd say. We got a lot of work done. Despite being distracted so much, we got a lot of work done. I will point this out, though. I did not do the eyes, and I also did not do the teeth. So that's why he looks toothless and he looks eyeless, because he actually is toothless and he actually is eyeless. I feel it's easier to just add those things in later, because there's so much of the face that's going to be animated. The face is the hardest thing to animate because there's so many different components that make up emotions. The most subtle of movements can translate to a really misfired emotion. So what you're seeing right here, that right there is not his eyebrow. That is like the corners of where the eyebrows should be. So literally when I make the eyebrows, that's just basically going to be the pivot point for them. That's where they're going to be animated. So they're either going to raise up when he's surprised, or they're going to tilt at an angle when he's angry. I will do my best to convey emotions. This character, I put him in a smiling type of uh, posture because he spends most of his time smiling maniacally and terrifyingly. Um, and if you ever get bored and want to watch a YouTube channel, oh, you have a YouTube channel and you do Let's Plays. Awesome. Yeah, I would encourage that you go to our Facebook fan page and just join there, and then you can share some of your work there. And if I got time, I'll check it out. I generally try to keep busy. I watch a little bit of YouTube, but it's really just because I'm like ADHD like that. I'm gonna go ahead and save this and drop it out to. Well, actually, I don't have to save it. Let's just drop it to intermission and then close, because there's nothing more that I need there. Yeah, I would suggest that you join the Facebook group and socialize with us there. I don't really don't like how that page is like dead and nobody's talking on it. We used to have someone there who was posting on it all the time. Her name was Nikki, and she got busy with real life stuff. She works at a cabaret club, I think is what it's called, or something or another. So she's just never online anymore, and as a result, people just don't really talk on our group anymore. So um, that's another thing that I'd like to push towards in 2019 is getting people to verbalize, like people to like exchange dialogue and become social. I don't know if it's just a Warframe thing. I don't know if people are just dropping off of the Facebook group because they're dropping off of Warframe, and that's what my channel is more geared towards, is Warframe. But in 2019, I am going to make a strong push to transition more out of Warframe and into Exidium. I'll still be doing Warframe stuff. I'll still be doing Warframe stuff. I'll still be doing Exidium stuff within Warframe. But my goal for 2019 is to really, really get the ball rolling in terms of storytelling. What you just saw me do, asset creation, is something that I will most likely end up doing for Warframe as well. And what that means basically is I won't just be shooting trailers in the Captura mode of Warframe. I will be actually taking pictures of my Warframes, like front, side, back, top, uh, stuff like that, and then animating them as a 2D rigged model. That way I can make them do more interesting things. Like, if you ever wanted to see a Limbo have a Dragon Ball Z fight with a chroma, that may end up happening. And that's that's one of the things that I want to do in 2019 is I really want to push really, really hard on the animation. And there's a guy here locally in Syracuse, New York, who wants me to rewrite my trilogy so that he can take me to Comic-Con and show off some of my YouTube videos and sell my book at the Comic-Con floor. But I've got so much I've got to do this year. I mean, not just on my YouTube, like in my personal life, I've got so much I got to do. Like doctor's appointments, therapy, custody battle. I don't feel as though I'll be able to rewrite that trilogy, not like I did when I was in high school. So that's not even a realistic goal for me at this point. Possibly next year. It really just depends on how fast this ball gets rolling. I definitely want to make a career out of what I'm doing on YouTube right now, because it's something that I never want to take a vacation from, and I never want to retire from. And that's the type of career you want to have. So, yeah, definitely get in touch with us on Facebook. And 8:57, we got 3 more minutes to shoot the shit. Um, what else can I tell you that I haven't already told you? Um, live streaming again. So every live stream that I do is probably gonna be showing something different. Uh, Probably by next weekend, I will be. Well, I might live stream some of the. I might be doing more asset creation. I may just reserve some of the drawings that I have to do for then. I would like to figure out what's going on with my pen so that I can actually use it that time, and I can draw on live stream. We can listen to music and chat. But then I might actually show my animation software and me trying to animate. But each live stream that I do will be doing something different. I, I I probably won't game on live stream again. It's just not very fun to me. I don't like gaming during a live stream. And plus I don't want to be like everybody else out there. I don't want to live stream me doing gaming anymore. It's just not my thing. It's not very interesting. So um I wouldn't necessarily look forward to me live streaming Warframe. Although I will still release videos for it. I would, however, look forward to me doing stuff like writing the next chapter or animating, the next scene that you're gonna see in one of my videos. Or, I mean, one of the live streams could just be me hanging out with you guys and you recommending, like, not safe for work videos for me to watch and react to. That could be one of the live streams. I don't know. All I want to do, really, in terms of the future, is work towards building a really good foundation for my YouTube career alongside everyone who follows me. So I'm kind of like, this is all fan service. This is definitely all fan. This is like my way of saying thanks for supporting me on my YouTube page for almost 4 years. Almost 4 years now. We're approaching half a decade. So thank you so much for tuning into this stream, and keep it locked in to YouTube because I will be notifying you guys when I'm going to be streaming again because I plan to do this on the regular, and look forward to the videos that I'm doing later on. I would say that we've still got a little bit of ways to wait for the animation video, but when it comes out, you will be blown away. Because I used to do animation all the time, and I was relatively good at it. But none of my YouTube fans know that. The only animation they've ever seen me do is like put together graphics for intro videos or outro videos, which is very, very minor stuff. It's very basic. It's rudimentary. It's not utilizing my full capacity talent. So I look to be getting back on my writing, getting back on my animation. Like, I really want to push the envelope. I really want to test myself and challenge myself in 2019. And by doing so, I will push out solid quality content work for you guys to watch. And hopefully YouTube will start paying me again and I can make a living off of doing that. So once again, thanks so much for tuning into this stream. Until next time, this has been Vance, signing out. Peace.